get actors who you have to pay $700,000 an episode. What if you get someone who's a little cheaper and we make them famous?
What if we let Nicole Kidman have a break?
Her in those wigs, every day Nicole Kidman has to get up, put on a wig that weighs 10 pounds.
Does she owe somebody money? Hey, y'all, Sam Sanders here. Thanks so much for checking out my show this week. It's an entertainment show, a pop culture show, but I'm going to be honest, it's actually just a collection of hot takes. Every week, I've got hot takes on movies, TV, books, music, internet, whatever. And I'll be honest, a lot of them are bad. In that spirit, I wanted to have a whole episode dedicated to hot takes, controversial pop culture hot takes. In fact, the most controversial pop culture hot takes. I have got two guests this week who are so good, we had to break them up. We got one first, then a second later. No further ado, future hot take champion. Kara, tell folks who you are.
Oh, man. Future champion, I guess.
Yeah.
Kara Brown. I am a writer, producer. I've written on the internet back when we all did that.
Were you Thought Catalog or Tumblr?
I was Tumblr.
Okay.
Actually, I was both.
Okay.
And then I was at Jezebel, where they paid me to just say inane things.
R.I.P. Jezebel. What a
an
time.
era.
Yes.
It was like an era.
Yes.
So I used to, deliver these unhinged takes there.
Yeah.
And then now I sneak them in television and film.
Yes. And you wrote on, correct me if I'm wrong on this, you wrote on Swarm.
I wrote on Swarm.
Yeah. Which I loved.
Swarm it's scary and funny. I remember that's what a friend had said to me. I was like, that's what we were going for.
Yeah.
I wrote on Swarm. I wrote on Grownish. I wrote on The Other Black Girl.
Yeah.
So I wrote on She-Hulk.
Okay.
Did a little MCU dive in there. Yeah, I've been all over the genres.
Yeah. And also, you were a longtime phenomenal host on one of my favorite culture podcasts, Keep It.
I was just yapping over there.
You were my favorite yapper.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Anywho, I hope you're ready to yap this episode.
I am.
About your hot takes. So there are really no rules here. Just share your hot take, and I'll ask you questions about it.
Okay.
And if I really disagree, even better. So we asked folks to come in with their most controversial hot takes. You sent us a list. I'm going to tell you which one I want you to go over first.
Okay.
That's cool?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
One of your most controversial hot takes that you sent to the team at this show was, quote, "Spoilers aren't bad. This is actually one of my most passionate beliefs."
It is. It is.
I'm scared for you. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, so I will also say some of it is a little bit, I'm trying to be a little contrary because having, written on a Marvel show with a group of fans that are active.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yes, that was my kind way to put it so they don't all come after me. Everyone's very persnickety about spoilers. Really freak out about spoilers.
Yeah.
So one, it's twofold. One, I think, grow up. The whole internet is not tailored to your viewing habits.
Also, you already read the comic book, you nerd.
You read the comic book, but also just generally, if you care that much, don't get on social media. Boop. And how is everyone on Twitter supposed to know what you've seen or not? Grow up. Get a grip.
Do you remember towards the end of Succession when, spoiler alert, the daddy died and the internet lost its mind?
People lost their minds. Guess what? Watch it live if you care so much. Watch it when it comes out. If you care. See it the first day.
Come on.
If you're and it's also with movies that it's like, oh, hey, guess what happens at the end of Captain America? He beats the bad guy.
You don't say.
Yeah,
you don't say.
Most of the time, they can't really be spoiled.
Yes.
And then I also believe fundamentally that a good movie can't really be spoiled.
Because it's just good.
It's just good. It's like if you hadn't seen Get Out and I was like, oh, they're all racist mind, whatever, you'd be like, I wonder how they did that. Even just knowing the ending, to me, with a great movie, even if you know how it ends, you're like, the great part is seeing how it ends and how it actually happens.
Yeah. Listen,
so I'm like, even if I know, you know they die at the end. Like, even if Succession,
Yeah.
you know he dies, but
He
like
has to, yeah.
but
Succession.
Succession, but also like on the plane, like in a heart, like
Yeah.
it's
Listen.
not less good when you watch it because you know that he died.
You don't have to convince me of this because I grew up a church kid.
Okay.
In our sacred text, big spoiler, he dies at the end and comes back.
Yeah.
I knew that when I was 3.
Yeah.
Read it my entire youth.
Yeah.
Come on.
It didn't get worse.
Didn't get worse.
Yeah.
Didn't get worse. It is funny, though. Once you sent this to us, I did some Googling. The word spoiler didn't appear in American culture until the 70s.
Okay.
Mad Magazine first used the word in like 1971.
Look at this research.
And there was a point in our culture, in Western culture, where the concept of a spoiler couldn't even exist because you constantly knew the plot and you still read anyway.
Yeah.
People don't understand how much spoiler culture, period, is relatively new.
Yeah.
It's new.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of it is these big sort of franchise movies, and people are lining up, and there's all this anticipation, and like they're putting so much into it. I also am like, maybe you care a little too much. Maybe
Go touch grass.
Maybe you should relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and definitely the internet. Like
For sure.
The internet, you know, just people logging on and expecting it to be perfectly tailored to what they're interested in.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
Yeah. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and say that this controversial hot take isn't that controversial at all.
Yeah.
You're right.
Thank you.
Spoilers aren't bad.
Thank you.
Deal with it, y'all. Deal with it. Okay. I'm going to share with you one of my hot takes. I've made it in this chair before, and members of this team have disagreed with me, but I'll say it till the end of time. When it comes to the Jacksons, I will take Janet over Michael any day.
Ooh.
Janet over Michael.
I feel like I wouldn't agree, but I wouldn't fight you on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'd be like, it's not worth fighting over because it's not crazy.
Thank you.
It's not crazy.
Okay. I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why. Both of the Jacksons, Janet and Michael, were phenomenal dancers.
Yes.
And I think that we see Michael as a dancer more because of the moonwalk and its ubiquity. But if you watch old videos from Janet, like The Pleasure Principle with the chair, girl's moving. She's moving, right? So I think they're both consummate performers. And I'm willing to bet that at her prime, Janet could have moonwalked as well.
You think she's a better dancer than Michael?
I think they're pound for pound. I think they're neck and neck.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So there's that. And then 2, why I really love Janet more is that her music and her visuals and her videos were able to give more of an emotional range. Janet could do sultry and sexy, and it was convincing. Whenever Michael tried it, it was stiff. You never bought it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You never bought it.
He's not sexy. Yeah.
He's just not sexy. And I'm going to leave it at that. But he just was never doing sexy in a way that convinced me. And I think at her best, some of Janet's visuals, especially in the 90s, were approaching art house. I think of the video Forgot Till It's Gone.
That was what popped into my head. That was what I was seeing.
Describe it for our listeners, viewers. It's wild.
It's sultry. We're at like this
a
kind
South
of
African speakeasy.
Yeah, like an underground kind of party.
Yeah.
It's vibey. It's like all those sort of burgundies and like golds and it feels very rich.
Thank you. And you compare that video, Forgot Till It's Gone, to let's say, which one am I going to compare it to?
Like a vibey video from him?
The ones
but he didn't make vibey videos. He made like cinematic videos.
What was the one, the Egyptian pharaoh one?
Oh, that's Remember the Time. Yeah.
That one was a spectacle.
Yes.
But it was not sultry or art house.
This reminds me because I, as like a lover of TV, and I think about the 2 best TV shows to me. You have The Sopranos, you have Mad Men. For me, like just sort of the blueprint of
the
like
living
excellent
single
television.
erasure. Well, it's a different kind of show.
Yeah, different kind of show. But to me, you have The Sopranos, which was first. It's a little more experimental. It's a little messier.
Yes.
And then you have Mad Men, which is perfect. Like to me, every scene of Mad Men is necessary. It stuck the ending much better.
Yeah.
But they are like I don't even like to I don't, like I wouldn't rank them because it's like they're both so excellent and we're
Exactly.
doing different things.
Exactly.
So it's like what I want from what I got out of Mad Men versus what I got out of The
Two different
Sopranos
things.
is very different. And I feel like that's a little Janet Michael.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
Janet wasn't like as much spectacle cinema,
Yeah.
but it was like the vibes were
Body,
crazy.
sultry,
Yes.
just a mood.
Much sexier for sure.
Yeah. And I think in part the reason I die on the hill of Janet Jackson, it's because I just want people to put more respect on her name, period.
Yes, yes.
She had so many hits. People forget the number of hits she had.
For decades.
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Every female pop star of our era will tell you there's no me without Janet.
Yeah. And I will say it's what always made me love Britney a little more because Britney was always like Janet. Like Britney
they offered I'm a Slave for You to Janet first.
Ooh. I don't know that I mean she could have done what she does with that, but like
Britney killed that.
Yeah, that was
she really did.
But I do feel like Britney, it always felt like an homage to Janet, and I feel like she talked about it.
She does.
So I was like, she can do this. It's okay. She knows where knows where this came from.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my first hot take. I'm going to tell you the next hot take I want you to riff on.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's a good one. I don't want to get you canceled.
It's honestly it's like the years of the internet. It's like how my brain works now. It's like I can't do it I can't think any other way.
Yeah. You said bingeable TV shouldn't exist.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, they're all gonna Netflix. I would still like to please still buy things for me, please. I would say to keep it current.
Yeah.
An excellent example.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I love TV was my first in terms of screenwriting, I wanted to do TV. I love TV. I love the ongoing storytelling nature of TV. I love the weekly tuning in of television. And so part of me is like, if you're not doing that, is it television? Like to me, maybe stream it's a slightly different thing than what something like ER had to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not really the same thing exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit more, love for that older way of making television. Week. Yes.
So 2 things. As soon as you said that, I was like, you know what? They could have made this White Lotus season bingeable and dumped it all at once. I could have just been out of my misery. And I think in that vein, I think streamers have actually started to make content that is made specifically for binging. You'll see some of these lower tier shows on the streamers. They 100%. Want you to watch it in one day with your smartphone next to you.
100%.
Like, what was the one? I mean, whenever I watch Housewives, whenever I go into that trough, it's a binge.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I
will wait. Yeah. I will wait for most Housewives. But then you have, so currently something like The Pit, which was weekly and built it up. And I'm like, that is television. That is what, that is the fun of TV. That is what it's supposed to find. TV is supposed to find an audience, guys. TV does not come out of the gate a hit. It's why you do a pilot and you test it and you maybe reshoot it. It is why you tweak the character. You watch something like Parks and Rec, where
it changed over seasons.
It changed because they're finding the characters, and then you land on something excellent, and that's what I love about TV figuring itself out. And I just when you do the binge model, it's just you're not
it's different.
It's different.
But I hear you talking about that, and we've riffed on this on the show a lot. The industry no longer sustains as much the infrastructure that allows for a pilot, a long season. A lot of these producers of shows, they want the show fully formed.
Yeah.
They want 8 episodes.
Yeah.
They really would rather one person write it.
Yeah.
And it's one and done.
Yeah.
And that's also, I think, a part of why they make this bingeable stuff, because it's one and done.
I also, on the days where I'm optimistic about the industry, if you're like, okay, not anytime soon, but if one day we will crawl out of this pit of despair, I think there's going to be some young, executive
I love it.
who's going to be
Young executive. When does that happen?
who's going to be treated like a genius.
Okay.
Because they're going to be like, hey, guys, what if we shoot the pilot and it doesn't cost $1 million? What if we get 10 writers in the room so that we got enough people to cover set so that they know what's happening at all times, and we can be in production while it's airing, so we can change things according to
Yeah. What if we sent the writers to the set as the show was being filmed so they could offer notes?
What if we didn't get actors who you have to pay $700,000 an episode? What if you get someone who's a little cheaper and we make them famous and you renegotiate the deal?
What if we let Nicole Kidman have a break?
Can she?
She's on every streamer all the time.
Her in those wigs every day. Nicole Kidman has to get up, put on a wig that weighs 10 pounds.
Does she owe somebody money?
But this is what I was, before we were on air, I was saying I am watching certain actors do things where I'm like, what do they know that I don't know?
Come on.
Because I'm like, Nicole, girl, is something about to happen?
Every streamer, the same show.
Yeah.
White woman about to be in danger.
I mean,
every show.
God love her lawyer. Her lawyer's like, oh my God, again. You know what I mean? They're just like, they're bringing her another show, and her lawyer's like doing the writer and like, the hair and makeup. Like, God love that person because they are working hard. To turn around contracts for this woman.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that there's like a turn in the culture to get to a less bingeable model? I mean, I will, as much as I hate On the White Lotus season 3, it does prove the power of week over week building. The ratings for that show built every week.
And a lot of shows have proven that. And it's also like, it doesn't need to be proven. That's the other thing. It's like,
we know.
We already know this. We know this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really need to be proven. I think that like the bingeable TV is never going to go away. But I hope that when you have a Pitt, you have Abbott, you have even like Hacks, doing weekly, a model I do like that Max does. Max, please buy something for me. They will release like the first 2 or 3 episodes. Or they'll do a really long pilot. Like I think the pilot for The Sex Lives of College Girls was like an hour long. And the episodes are only 30 minutes. And they get you hooked in, and then they start doing weekly. And I like that because you think you're maybe about to, you're like, oh, there's a bunch of episodes, and then now you have to wait. And it makes you just excited.
Last question on this. What is a show or type of show that you think is so bad you don't care if it's dumped at once? Can always be bingeable.
I mean, when they do those... So another slight hot take is like a lot of these quote unquote documentaries are just like they're just like glorified 60-minute specials.
They really
I was like, this is not a
and they come too quickly.
They come too quickly.
The event happened a year and a half ago.
This isn't Hoop Dreams. You know what I mean? This isn't like, oh wow, we followed these we followed the story, we've been to the subject. This is like you got some video clips and some talking heads.
Come on.
And I'm like, I guess we'll call that a documentary.
Yeah, dump that at once.
Yes,
dump that at once.
Fine.
Actually,
and call
dump it in the ocean.
Yeah. And call it something else.
Yeah.
I think we need a new term for those. But those, because they're usually like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah. And 3 episodes, I'm like, unless it's great, I'm only going to give you 2. I can't, it's just.
And also it's stuff that like, you're like, oh, didn't I read an article about this 7 months ago?
I remember there was a football player who faked having a girlfriend.
Oh, do I ever? Because a fun story, when I met with the editor of Jezebel at the time. Like to maybe go work for them. It was the day Deadspin had broken the Manti Te'o story. So all the guys, they're like, we're at this bar in New York. The meeting was at a bar. That's how you know.
We love it.
It's like,
golden days of internet journalism.
Yeah, that was media. And all the guys were like, the Deadspin guys were at this bar, and then we had our meeting, and then we went back and celebrated with them. But yeah, also that reporting on that story was excellent.
So good.
So it's like, I don't
need more.
I don't need this video footage of this guy. I don't want to hear him talk.
Yeah. That said, okay, I know we must close this loop, but I want 3 more seasons of that Dallas Cowboy cheerleader show. Do it week by week, because y'all got me. I mean, give me the boots and the pom-poms.
What are the stakes of that show?
There are no stakes.
Okay.
It's great gowns, beautiful gowns, and they have trauma.
And they're dancing. They're putting on those little shorts and dancing.
All of them have the weirdest mother-daughter relationships.
It
is amazing. One of them, her mom was also a Cowboys cheerleader.
Oh, that's
Oh,
dark
you
in
haven't
a
watched
good
this?
way. No.
Can I give you that assignment? It is so good.
You can spoil it for me because, as we know, I don't mind a spoiler.
Spoil, they ruin their bodies.
Okay.
Their hips are shot.
Oh, yeah. And then,
Yeah,
and just for like
for a few years.
$1,000 a week, too, for
Yeah,
like no
Chick-fil-A
money.
money, baby.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A
Oof.
money. Anywho, my next hot take
Yes.
is kind of twofold. It's an overall album hot take.
Okay. Oh, no.
One, no album needs a spoken word interlude. And two, every album that's ever been made, save for like Stevie Wonder, has been too long. And the sweet spot for album length is either 40 minutes or 60 minutes. I'm looking at you. Fight me.
Question.
Do it.
What is, because it's interesting that you say it by length of time.
Yes.
Because I think in terms of number of songs.
What's your track number for album ideal album?
12?
I was going to say 9 or 10.
That feels light. Well,
Purple Rain is like 9 or 10 tracks.
okay. I think I just, it's like, you know what I'm visualizing? I'm visualizing like my CDs in my room when I'm
Yeah.
16, and I'm looking at the case and I'm seeing 12 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
You're
that
like,
that
oh,
means that I want
yes.
12 tracks. It's just what I
What you feel.
imagine,
Yeah.
what I think they are.
Yeah.
Who's a spoken word intro you don't like?
I remember when Kanye. This is not a value judgment. I'm just saying it happened. When Kanye did the College Dropout, and there were all those interludes
skits.
of like broke, five, broke.
Yeah.
You ain't got no money. That was the last time I liked album interludes. I love Beyonce.
Yeah.
I respect the brilliance of Cowboy Carter. Once I heard the interludes once,
Yeah.
I don't need to hear Willie Nelson again for 15 seconds.
That's fair. And unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
those like little interludes on College Dropout were thematically, I didn't hate it because
It was
it was
part of the
thematically,
plot.
yeah, it was part of
Yes.
it. And now they don't feel part of the plot. Now they just feel like they
They're
wanted to
there
talk.
because they know that your streaming score in the Billboard tally is upped if your album has more tracks.
Oh,
That's what that's about.
yeah.
That's what that's about. Also, my theory that all albums should be either 40 or 60 minutes, I have proof.
Okay.
Some perfect albums are these lengths. Purple Rain, 40 minutes. Renaissance, a little over 60 minutes. Stevie Wonder's Intervisions, 9 songs in around 44 minutes.
How
That's
long
the
was
sweet
Songs in the
spot.
Key of Life?
A lifetime. But I'm going to let Stevie have it. I'm going to let Stevie have
He
it.
gets to do it. Okay.
But like for me, it's like when you think about Renaissance,
Yeah.
what I think is the best Beyonce album, it's a tight hour. It's a tight DJ set.
yeah. Yeah.
And some of these a 2-hour-long album, get out of here.
Some of them
Get
are,
outta here.
they're long.
They're long. SZA, I Love You. What was SOS? That was a lot of songs. It's a lot of songs.
Cowboy Carter is long, isn't it?
Oh, Cowboy Carter's so long. It's like
Yeah.
an hour and 20 minutes. And I've quietly made my playlist of the 8 songs I want to hear continuously from Cowboy Carter. Bless you, Beyonce. Don't come for me, Beehive. I saw Renaissance 4 times. I paid the money.
Would you rather she or they, whoever,
Yes.
would you rather they cut the songs completely, cut the fat, or save them for another album?
Yeah, release more albums.
Okay.
Like Stevie at his peak
Yeah.
was making, before Songs in the Key of Life and those opuses,
Yeah.
he was doing short albums just like that. Motown era, baby,
Yeah.
they just cranked it
Yeah,
out.
they did.
They
did.
cranked it out. 40 minutes, 60 minutes. And while I'm here, movies should be 90 minutes.
I mean, okay.
Your hand went up.
That I can't do. But the movie lengths are crazy.
Yes.
the
Why
movie-
is this? Why? I have a theory, but you go.
Because someone lets them. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't imagine, like, yeah, if someone let me sit here all day in this chair, I too could talk all day if I was allowed to.
Are you a Twitch streamer? That's what they do.
I mean, I know, but my God, yeah. Well, maybe when Hollywood crashes and burns, that's what I'll do. But like, someone should stop you, and I don't even mean like like your DP, your filmmaker friend. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, someone should be like, "Hey, girl."
There used to be a time when like the head producer at a big studio could boss hog a director.
Or
That's
also,
changed.
you think of like George Lucas when he talks about like, screening his movies for like all of his little peer,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and those guys should have been like, "Hey, George,"
Too long.
like that's who I would want it from. I would
Mhm.
want it from like my peers,
Yes.
who I think would have more sort of invested in me making like good art versus
Yeah.
like a palette, like something
Yeah.
that goes down easy.
Mhm.
But 90 minutes is short, but I do think over 2.5 is yeah.
Over 2. I want to fight somebody.
I think so. You know what? I did. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And then when I watched, I was really angry when I sat down to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, ugh.
I was just talking about this movie today.
And then honestly, though, I wasn't mad. I was like,
Okay.
damn, he
did that.
He did it. Like I was so ready to be so irritated at the length. And I was like, it didn't feel that long.
It's true.
It was excellent.
True.
So maybe
Wicked didn't feel too long either. I'm always a Wicked defender.
I'm just saying, they got that out on stage in 3 hours. They got us.
They did part 1 and part 2.
They did the
in less than
whole
3 hours.
thing on stage. Is all I'm saying. They managed to do that.
They did. We're gonna leave that there.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave that there. Oh, this one's fun. Your next hot take that you sent in to us. Quote, Beatles songs are always better when sung by Black people.
Oh yeah. That's like if I landed on Mars and I planted my flag, it would like say that on the flag. That's what I would like want to last forever. Stevie Wonder, We Can Work It Out.
Oh yeah.
Aretha Franklin, Let It Be.
Oh, yeah.
Donny Hathaway, Jealous Guy.
Wait, Jealous Guy is a Beatles song?
Yes. Because you don't be know exactly. And I'm gonna be honest. I bet you, like, if we were in a room with the Beatles and they were like, "There's no mics, there's no cameras," I bet they'd be like, "Yeah,
You're right.
We would argue. What are you, a better singer than Aretha Franklin?"
Listen, yeah, they would say it too because do you remember that really long Beatles doc from like 2 or 3 years ago?
Oh yeah.
So it's like 3 hours long,
very long.
Apple TV Plus, but they're in the studio recording what would become.
That one where they're on the roof.
Yeah, it would become the song Get Back.
Sure.
They were working on Get Back and some other tracks, and they were stuck. They sounded horrible. They're in the booth. They can't get it right. All of a sudden, this gorgeous, amazing, talented Black man comes in and fixes it. His name is Billy Preston. He goes on to write or co-write several songs for the Beatles, and they would call him for years the fifth Beatle.
Yeah.
The fifth Beatle is Black. I
just think like the Beatles, it's how I would feel about like Ed Sheeran. Great songwriter. He is a good songwriter. I'm not gonna. Ed is a good songwriter. And you know, he and I had like a whole beef when I was at Jezebel.
You had a beef with Ed Sheeran? He seems like a nice guy.
I know, this was the problem. I had found him really irritating, and I was writing about him. And then he had such a good sense of humor about it. Like he started tweeting back at me.
Back when they tweeted.
And he had such a good sense of humor where I was like, ugh. You're ruining this, Ed, because it was like a fun back and forth. But Ed Sheeran, a great songwriter.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to hear him sing. And the Beatles, I'm like, but give me Donny Hathaway singing,
Come on.
obviously.
Come on. You know what? On this track, and I'm gonna look it up to confirm, this theory holds because my favorite Bob Dylan album is an album of a Black gospel choir singing covers of Bob Dylan songs.
There you go. Or it's kind of like, I mean,
Dylan's
we love
gospel.
Tapestry, but when Janet rolled up there, when Aretha rolled up there, you're like, yeah, this sounds better.
Exactly. Yeah, Dylan's Gospel by the Brothers and Sisters, released in 1969, is the best iteration of Dylan songs you'll ever hear. You're right.
This is the one song I give them.
What?
Hey Jude. They killed that. That one they can keep. That one's for them.
They were in their bag.
They did it.
They were.
You guys.
Yes.
The vote. Okay. That one is yours.
Okay.
Every other song, someone else should sing.
And there you have it.
A Black person specifically.
Yes. I love this. Can I give you my last hot take before we bring in our next hot take guest?
Please
to join
hit
us?
me.
Don't fight me. Don't hate me. Actually do it. It's fine. I think you should actually be allowed to talk in theaters. Oh. And there should be talky theaters and then non-talky theaters.
What are you saying in a movie that's so like...
Don't open that door!
Oh, that?
Yes!
I don't mind that.
Okay.
I don't mind that.
Okay.
I don't like my dad, who I love, but my dad will lean over and he'll be like, because my dad will see like white actresses, and to him they all sort of look alike. Yeah. So he'll be like, "Doesn't that look like your friend Tilly?" I'll be like, No, it doesn't. She's just white. It doesn't look like she doesn't look anything like Tilly. Like that's what my dad talks in the movies like that I don't love. Yelling at the screen, I don't mind.
Okay. See,
Um,
I want some theater chain, Alamo Drafthouse, to have like a screening room where they know you got to be quiet, which right now is all of their screening rooms.
Most
and then one,
should be all screening rooms, in fact.
And then one where it's like, we don't care, talk. Because, like, okay, let's say this week the big movie is Sinners.
Yes.
A few weeks in, once people have seen it and want to go to a second or third viewing, I would love to make it a kiki.
So I saw it once.
Yes.
And I'm gonna see it again this week. And I would be more willing on a second viewing.
See?
It's also, I think of one of my favorite movie-going experiences when I lived in New York. I lived uptown, and I went to the 125th Street Magic Johnson Theater, and I saw Flight. And
a good theater movie.
And the part where Denzel snorts that line of coke, and then he goes walking out with John Goodman with that Denzel walk.
Yes.
Where you're like, which is bad. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's not a good thing he just did. This audience loses its mind. Clapping, cheering. And I was like, oh, it's really the power of Denzel. Because I was like, oh no, he was, he did a bad thing.
He did.
But it made it so much more fun.
Right.
With all of that extra zhuzh.
Come on.
I like this idea of 2 theaters, though. I like the idea
Choose
of
your own
opting
adventure.
in. Yeah.
There you go. We fixed it, Hollywood.
Yeah.
They would up their box office take.
Do you think the pricing should be the same?
It's got to be cheaper for the talkie. I'm not paying $20.
Actually, yeah, I would pay. Yeah, if it's half the price,
then you can talk.
And you got to listen to people talk. There are movies where I'd be like, "That's
okay."
Fair. Yeah.
There you go. Or, okay, let's say like my 3rd or 4th viewing of the incredible Keke Palmer SZA film, One of Them Days.
Yeah.
I would love my 3rd or 4th viewing to just be like a cookout in the theater.
I like this when I just saw The Wedding Banquet also. I did a lot of supporting of cinema this weekend.
We love.
And they're re-releasing, like in the theaters, Brokeback Mountain.
Talkie. Make it a talkie.
And I was like, first of all, a movie that ruined my life. Like I was like 17 and I saw it alone, and then I just like cried at home for a week. Like when he put the shirt on the other shirt, and I was like, oh my God, these gay people can't just love each other.
I watched it for the first time with my mother.
Ooh.
That's a chapter in a book.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But that movie, I would just want a theater where we're all just wailing, where we're all just like, Jack, no.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
I would.
See?
Yeah.
I won you over.
You did. Yeah, I was not.
Okay.
I started skeptical, but you got me.
All right.
Yeah.
We did it, Joe.
We did.
Budden. I can't say Biden anymore. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more hot takes from a team member of this show. Stay with us. All right, we're back. Thank you for sticking out all these hot takes so far. We have more hot takes. This special episode of the hottest pop culture hot takes wouldn't be complete without bringing in a member of this show's team. Every week when I'm in here giving my opinions, some of which are bad, there's one person in the control room watching the cameras, shaking his fist and yelling most of the time. He is a valued and esteemed member of this team, but he has been itching for a while to debate my hot takes. He is the lead videographer of this show, makes us all look real pretty, but now it's about to get ugly. Tell folks who you are.
My name is Beau Delmore. I'm the video producer of this podcast, and I agree with a lot of your takes, but I disagree with a lot of your takes too.
Which one is more?
We'll call it 50-50 for now. But I'm honored to be on this side of the glass for once.
Hell yeah. We're going to fight.
We're
going to fight. Let's do it. But first, I want to have you, because you are the king of responses to the hot takes, I want you to respond to the hot takes you just heard from me and Kara. Which one pissed you off the most?
Where do I start? I do think that spoilers are bad. I have to say, I appreciate the arguments, especially against the MCU kind of fandom, which, even though I like those movies, is a bit much. But I think that for me personally, if the person who made that movie or TV show or whatever is wanted you to know what was going to happen, they would tell you what was going to happen.
That's how linear narrative works. That's like there's no other way to tell a story without going in an order.
Quentin Tarantino would like a word. He will show the ending of something and then work it, and then be like, let's find our way back to that. And I think that is a storytelling choice that certain people make. I personally think if you know what's going to happen in the end, it doesn't mean it ruins it. Because to your point, if it's good enough, it's still going to be an enjoyable story. But I think it inherently and fundamentally changes the viewing experience that you're getting with that story as you're watching it.
But does changing the experience make it a bad one?
It can.
And I asked
Maybe not always.
Yeah. I asked this because literally up until the 70s, there wasn't even a word for this. And like all those old writers back in the day, all that early stuff, everyone knew. And I don't think it made that art worse. I just think we're in a new and different moment now.
My nuance to my explanation is also that I think if a movie is excellent, a spoiler is not going to diminish it. And I think that if the whole movie hinges on a like, huh? Then I'm like, how good was that movie? Like A Beautiful Mind, if you were like, oh, Paul Bettany isn't real.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I think there's so much other stuff to that movie that's enjoyable. So I would say that like it doesn't make a movie worse to me. Like knowing the ending to me, I'm not like, oh well, what was the point of that now? You know, I'm like an excellent movie, even if you know the ending is like. And by the way, you know, there's a lot of these movies based off of books that no one's read. So it's like half the time I'm like, I already knew what happened here because I read this book. Yeah.
I will say if people stopped getting mad about spoilers, if spoiler culture left the internet, I think the consumption of entertainment media would be better for everybody.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I do think spoiler discourse just gets in the way of critical assessment of a thing.
I totally agree with that.
What's that? Say it again. You what?
I totally agree with you, Sam. Yeah.
You agree with me?
We're good. We'll cut.
Graphic here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
No, but I think like Sinners, which came out this past week, is a good
I'm seeing it
example.
today. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Okay.
But I think that like that's a good example of like I really didn't want anything spoiled, so I went and saw it opening weekend. And if you have a problem getting spoiled, if you're like, this is something I really care about and I don't want this spoiled for me, I was like not going on social media and the internet. I don't want anything. I'm not reading articles because I want to go see it fresh and I want to have those fresh eyes. If you wait 2-3 weeks or whatever, that's kind of on you.
Exactly. And sometimes I'll see people get mad about like, you know, like, oh, you told me the end of like Gladiator. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like just because you haven't seen something.
Come on.
You know what I mean? We're all supposed to know what you viewed or not viewed. And I think that is part of what you were saying, Sam, about like spoiler culture, where people just feel that they're like entitled to have the exact experience they want. And it's like, if week one, okay. But you know, if it's out of theaters now, it's like, you know, I don't know what to tell you.
You gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Yes. Next, what other hot take of ours?
Can we run through?
Yes.
I mean, I remember a couple of them but I want to make sure I remember them all.
Spoilers aren't bad. Janet over Michael every day.
Insane take. Insane take. And I love Janet Jackson.
I don't think you do.
I do.
I don't think you do.
I think that she's got a much better acting career. You know, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that bar was on the floor.
I know. That's my point.
What was Michael in?
The Wiz.
Yeah.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, poor baby. But I think in terms of just like cultural impact, number of kind of songs that really kind of stick in the zeitgeist that are in cultural conversation, played at weddings, whatever you want to call it. I think Michael is just like, he's just too much of a force. Janet's unbelievable. And I think all the points you guys have made about her being maybe a more interesting artist in terms of like what things she's done, those are totally fair. But I think in terms of like purely saying like Janet is better than Michael is nuts.
Call me Mr. Planters, Mr. Peanut. I hear you. I hear you. Here's the thing. Janet Jackson, given enough time and practice in her heyday, could have moonwalked. Michael could have never done the video for That's the Way Love Goes.
It's fair.
Think about it.
Could Janet have made Thriller?
She could hit that choreo. You could hit that choreo.
It seems like you're falling back on the dancing a lot.
Oh, yeah. Joe had them all dancing.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I mean, again, Janet's unbelievable, but I just think in terms of like, he's got the #1 best-selling album of all time with Thriller. He's the Guinness World Records as the greatest entertainer of all time, artist of the century according to the AMAs. Like,
I think the lesson here is you should really torture your children when you're young to be performers, because then you get 2 of them, and then people will be on podcasts debating which of your progeny is better. That seems to be the lesson. You gotta
Make
get
them
them in there.
kids work.
Yeah, make them work.
Remember that scene from the Jackson documentary, one of the best things of all time, where Joe just wakes all the kids up at midnight and is like, dance for my friends. I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that.
I think about that, and I think about Beyonce talking about her dad, Matthew, having them on treadmills singing.
In heels.
In heels. You're like, good Lord. And I'm like, unfortunately, though, you cannot argue with the outcome. I'm like, I don't know that that's good, but what am I going to say to him?
Behind every young star is an insane parent.
Yeah. And it's a two-for. It's like he got Janet and Michael. They got Destiny's Child and Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even just like one. Like, I couldn't have done it, you know?
People forget this. The Jackson brothers had a Vegas showcase when they were kids. They were like teenagers, preteen, but they would bring Janet on for like one song during the show. She was like a little vamp with like a feather boa. She was doing that Vegas show at like 6. Janet had a Vegas residency at 6 years old. That's why I say she's the best.
To be fair, she was guesting on Michael's Vegas residency.
Yes. I hear you, but I don't want to hear you. All right.
Fair enough.
All right. The other takes we had, Kara says bingeable TV shouldn't exist.
Agree.
We're all in alignment. My hot take about albums was, 1, no spoken word interludes, and 2, the ideal length is either 40 or 60 minutes.
Hard agree. I definitely agree with that.
Come here. We did it.
So proud of us.
Wow. You witnessed history.
Are you guys usually beefing?
I never know how much we're beefing because he's behind the glass, so I can't hear.
Yeah,
He's
usually
just like pounding.
Yeah.
He'll come in afterwards and I'll just be like, that was like, why did you say
That's the dumbest
that?
thing I've ever heard. Yeah.
The last hot take we had came from Kara. Actually, there were 2. Beatles songs better when sung by black people.
I agree. I actually think the Beatles are like a little bit overrated, if I'm being honest.
From a white person, so it's true. You know, that's kind of what I wanted to say, but white people get very upset when you come for the Beatles.
They do.
Yeah.
Leave Elvis alone and leave the Beatles alone. They don't play with that.
Yeah.
But you get it.
And look, I think there's a little bit of like the Citizen Kane of it all, where like they did a lot of things first, and you've seen it so many times by the time you get to like, you know, later generations that you're like, yeah, but I've seen all these other people do it, so it's not as impressive as it was if you're in the moment.
Yeah.
But I still am just like, I don't like, you know, some of the songs are great, they're talented, whatever, but like, I'm good. I don't need to pop on a Beatles
thing with
song.
the Beatles, everything they did, the Beach Boys did in a more musical and interesting way.
Yeah.
The Beatles were kind of clunky musicians. Bless them. Wonderful songwriting. But I don't ever need to hear them just do instrumentals for me.
I think similarly, I wonder if there is a segment of white people who are so invested in the Beatles that they are overlooking, you know, I'm like, the Beach Boys are great.
Come on.
Those are bops.
Come on.
Like,
That
I'm like,
sounds
I feel like they're
world-breaking.
a little too because I get it. Like, that's kind of your, that's
it's
a big,
a cultural touchdown.
it's a big thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Amongst the sea of like Michael Jacksons and Stevie Wonder, you know what I mean? I get it. I get like, yeah. But I'm like, maybe just chill for a second, listen to some other, like, that is not they're not the white artists. I'd be like, that was our,
Who's
put
the
them
white
on the,
artist you'd cape for?
like the best white.
Of yesteryear. I got one, and I know who it is. And all day, every day.
I mean, maybe Dolly?
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yes. I will say Fleetwood Mac.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
They were harmonized. Rumors.
Do you think they're one of the best white artists of all time?
Not all time, but of that, of
What
yesteryear.
We were talking about the Beatles. They're not.
They're like 60s and on. Fleetwood Mac is 70s. When I'm thinking of vintage acts, vintage classic acts, I think Fleetwood Mac is so underrated. I think that Tusk, the follow-up to Rumors, is just as good and freaking weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of their relationship drama was spectacular. I think the fact that they made so many albums in spite of that infighting, spectacular. I think the fact they made all that albums in spite of Stevie Nicks' cocaine use, phenomenal. Like, there should be a Mount Rushmore with just, like, their faces. I also think that, like, I'm sorry of the Fleetwood Mac of it all, but I've seen this happen with kids in my life. Like, the first time they hear Fleetwood Mac's Dreams, the wonder that washes over them.
Mm-hmm.
Even when that first drum fill
It's an
starts,
amazing
and I'm like,
song.
oh, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. That's...
So Fleetwood Mac is better than the Beatles.
Don't get me in trouble. Don't
Sam
get
said
me...
it. I'm just repeating. You guys in here off camera, Sam said that, and I was just repeating
Yeah.
it. No, I'm
Put up-
kidding.
put up-
I'm kidding.
Put up the Sam Says graphic on the bottom.
Okay, we gotta move on. We have to move on. Last hot take that, and you're gonna hate this one. The one where I said that you should be allowed to talk in the movies.
So here's the caveat. I do think the like interacting with the screen,
Yeah.
I think is actually okay to a point. Like,
Okay.
you're doing it every 5 minutes, you're being annoying.
Yeah.
But I think if you're like Sinner's a good example. Like, people are like, close the door, da, 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 you know, whatever. Like, that
Yes.
I think makes it a kind of co-viewing experience that
Yes.
I actually
Yeah.
really appreciate. Talking to each other and having conversations and pulling out phones is blasphemy.
I didn't say phones.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that like having commentary, being
Yeah.
like, does that look like so and so?
Yeah, yes.
I'm like, can we not?
I did want to. There were multiple moments in Sinners. So I also, to me, movies, it's like it's not a group activity to me. Like, I mostly see. I'm like, I don't need other people.
Same, I go by
Like,
myself all the time,
Like,
yeah.
I don't. It's not better with people.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there, and I was to myself during Sinners. I was saying certain things, like along the lines.
And
of what
wouldn't
you're
have it
saying.
felt so good if you could say it out loud?
You know, I was in West Hollywood. Didn't feel like that crowd was going to be as, appreciative of.
You need to go to the
those-
Baldwin
yeah,
screenshot.
I was
those
gonna say,
outbursts.
not the cookout vibe at the
No,
West Hollywood.
but also maybe it would have helped me because who was going to say anything? Were they going to,
They're not gonna check
were
you,
they really
boo.
going to shush me at the Ryan Coogler movie? Probably not. Probably not. Maybe that's where I should be talking.
See? I'm changing lives out here. If you're watching this show right now, I want you to go buy a ticket to a movie, walk in there, and then talk. Let's start a movement. Let's start a movement.
And then sue you when something happens.
You get banned from the AMC
Yeah.
cinemas all over the
yeah,
country.
Yeah. Okay, those are our hot takes. You've given us your review.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we aligned as much as we
I was
did.
gonna say, there's some that I very much disagree with, and there's other that I think are great.
Can we go through some of yours that you shared?
Sure.
Because I got one that I want to physically fight you over.
Great. Can't wait.
Kara, just wait.
Oh, I'm nervous.
Beau, you said, typed in an email sent to multiple team members, quote, Ryan Gosling is the best comedic actor of the last 10 years.
Correct.
I'm going to be quiet and let our guest take the floor on this one.
Okay. The best comedic actor.
In film, specifically, not TV, in film.
Okay, because
Yeah.
we were just saying, like, to me, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I think she's the best
Yes.
comedic actor, male, female. Like,
Agree.
she's here's what I'd say about Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling, in an interview, hilarious.
That. He gives good junket.
I don't know that it always translates on screen as funny as he is when he's just like, when he's sitting next to like Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. Which movies make you make
Yeah,
this
where
case?
is
So in the last 10 years specifically,
Mm-hmm.
the 5 movies that come to mind, this is not doing like Blade Runner 2049 or like the drama
I'm
stuff.
thinking of like Drive. That
Right,
wasn't
Drive.
funny.
Yeah, that was the opposite of funny. I love it, but it was not funny
Great
at all.
soundtrack.
Half
But I don't-
Nelson.
yeah.
A real-
I was crying laughing. No, I think in 2015 he did The Big Short, which I think he's actually the funniest person in
Okay.
that movie. He did The Nice Guys, which I think is criminally underrated.
That movie
Okay.
was good.
Very funny movie.
Mhm.
He did La La Land, which is like
Not funny.
I actually
the one
here's
where
thing.
Ryan Gosling helps John Legend save jazz.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious? But I do think
Good
that
point.
the humor in that movie comes from him and Emma Stone and their chemistry. There's not. It's like more of a
Okay.
drama, but there are moments that are very funny. I think
Okay.
between the two of them.
Okay.
Barbie, and then he did.
He
the,
was good in Barbie.
And then he did The Fall Guy, which I think he's very charismatic.
Well,
and
you
funny.
watched that one.
I
Yeah.
did. I really liked it personally.
You know how
So-
you're saving yourself? You're saving yourself with this narrow window because
Mm.
to me, I love Seth Rogen. Like, this is the end. To me, is the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Amazing.
So good.
And so I would probably put like Seth Rogen for me. Like, but I'm thinking of like Pineapple Express.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
yes.
But 10 years is not a small window either. That's I thought this and I started looking it up in terms of like what's Seth Rogen doing, what's Will Ferrell doing, what's Kevin Hart doing, what's all these people, and they're doing like a lot of animated.
Not Kevin.
But
you know what I mean.
Here's the big caveat though. They've been making a lot fewer comedies in the last 10 years.
That's exactly right.
True.
So like you're right, but there's maybe a little bit of an asterisk there because there have been a lot fewer comedies.
No, I was going to say, I think that you're exactly right. And I, as somebody who was a huge comedy fan, I hate that.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I'm like naming all these Ryan Gosling movies that are mostly not actually comedy movies.
Right.
Like Barbie, I think is very funny, but it's not like a slapsticky Judd Apatow or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that in the last 10 years, that was the thing. I was kind of shocked trying to look at comedy movies and what are the biggest comedy movies in the last 10 years and being like, none of these are really like the people you think of, the Seth Rogens and, whoever.
Yeah. I'm going to say mine. And it probably has to be 15 to 20 years. But I think every time Melissa McCarthy wants to be funny on screen, she's the funniest person alive. Even the bad movies, her physical humor and her delivery will just make me laugh. I've watched so many of her movies more than once, knowing they're bad, but just to see her for a few minutes do that thing. She's so funny.
Yeah.
Even think of that last scene in Bridesmaids on the plane.
Yes.
She does something like that in every comedy she's in. And it's beautiful.
I think I do love Melissa McCarthy. I think it's getting a little repetitive, those performances.
Yeah. It's so very Lucille Ball. The same physical
Yeah, like they are funny,
yeah.
but it doesn't stand out for me because they feel kind of similar. Because it's sort of like, what's the movie she did with like Sandra Bullock, and she's kind of like the schlubby agent, and I'm like, that's kind of her in Bridesmaids.
She makes airplane movies.
Yeah,
my unifying theory of Melissa McCarthy is that like most of her films are made to be really great to watch with a family or on an airplane. And if you go in knowing it's that, it is beautiful at being exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought about her when I was thinking through this hot take, and I was like, she's made a bunch of just kind of duds the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, her in Bridesmaids is like as funny as anybody's ever been in a movie.
Good.
Like, she shows up at the bridal shower and just steals the show immediately.
I think that our TV writer guest might agree with you on this hot take that you had, Beau. You wrote, quote, "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a more boundary-pushing show than anything on HBO."
Yeah, I agree with that. Because it's my take.
I'm looking.
I watched a few episodes, and something I've also been trying to do is be better about distinguishing between things I think are bad and things I don't like. Because it's not necessarily the same thing. So I would say, like, I don't think it is a bad show. It is not for moi.
Yeah.
And I think the earlier episodes too, it was this sort of like hipster racism. Like it's not racist, but it was like
so ironic that it might
it was like
be
that
racist.
type of thing where I was like, I'm sure this is funny to someone. But I definitely I think the sheer amount of time it's been on television.
How many seasons?
17,
125 or whatever. Like for me as someone who loves TV, I'm like, that is a feat. So like there's clearly something happening there that is very good that I wouldn't fight with. But like, like The Sopranos and The Wire were on
Seen
HBO.
them all. Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Here's my thought behind it. One, I agree. I think especially in the earlier seasons, there's some of the race stuff, they stepped in it a little bit, and they definitely like got their hand slapped a few times, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And they've said that too.
Yeah.
But I think the stuff that they have tackled in that show, from race to like Israel and Palestine to gun control,
they do that?
They talk
to
about
father abandonment. Yeah,
Should we watch this show?
I don't have 17 seasons of time.
Yeah, I mean, I can
I get a super cut?
I'll pull some episodes for you guys.
Yeah,
Like, here are the ones.
Yeah.
But I think I think they've tackled some like very, very hot button issues, and they often do it in a very kind of fun, slapsticky way, obviously in the way they do. But they've also done a few, like 2 episodes specifically that will probably make you cry in terms of one is Mac finds his pride, where he comes out to his dad, and they did this.
One of them's gay?
Yeah. I can't. It's like 10 seasons.
Which
in,
one?
But Rob McElhenney, the one who does Welcome to Wrexham and all that stuff.
He's in the show.
Not in real
Okay,
life.
Yeah, in the show.
And I believe he
Wow.
has 2 gay parents, if I'm not mistaken.
He does. He has 2 moms.
Yes, he has 2
Oh,
moms.
okay.
And so but there's a whole episode where his dad is in prison, and he basically orchestrates this beautiful ballet dance as a way to explain to his dad his sexuality and come out to him. His dad gets up and walks away halfway through. Danny DeVito is there crying, being like, I get it now. And it's like this beautiful scene. It's very emotional. And the other episode that I would say is very kind of an outlier for a comedy show specifically, but I think it's very kind of boundary pushing for what they do is explores kind of father abandonment, because Charlie on the show never knew his dad. He finds out his dad is alive and in Ireland. They all go to Ireland. He meets his father, who then passes away very quickly. And they have this weird family tradition that they have to carry his dead body up to this cliff and I think like throw it off is kind of the storyline. And it's like the whole thing is them kind of like carrying his body up this cliff the whole time. But the finale of it and the climax of it is Charlie weeping, trying to carry his father up the hill alone in the rain, screaming like, I shouldn't have had to carry you. You were supposed to carry me. Like it's like, I mean, like I'm getting choked up just thinking about it.
So you mean, this is a good clarification, because you're talking about like the specific subjects they tackle versus like the television like the way they're making
like
television.
the format and structure.
Not they're not like changing the structure of TV or doing like a oneer like in the studio or whatever, like these kinds of
Although
things.
I think hot take, oneers, stop doing them. I get it. Everyone's doing a oneer.
Wait till you see Sinners.
Yeah, that's true. There's some pretty high levels.
There is a oneer that is like they're going to be teaching that in film school.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's
okay.
unbelievable.
Okay.
Also, I don't know if you've watched any of the studio.
They have a oneer episode.
They have a oneer episode,
which I was okay with.
That one is good.
It's really
It's really
I
good.
think it's a good show.
Yeah.
I was very reluctant to watch it because I was like, this is gonna make me quit Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like I'm already on the edge, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna come back.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, no, it's not making like you're gonna like who they're making fun of.
Yeah.
And I do love Seth Rogen.
He's the best. And his wardrobe in that show.
Yeah.
Looks
They're
incredible.
dressing
The
him.
show looks amazing. And
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah.
Always on time.
I had been very hesitant, and I watched it, and I was like, this is good. And that episode is great.
Yeah.
There were other hot takes you had, Beau. And there were other questions to some of my previous hot takes. And I want to give you time to argue this out because it's a take that I still stand by. And I've said so much that I even had an episode all about this idea. And I want your thoughts on this too. My theory is that in Hollywood right now, there are next to no young movie stars on the level or tier of Julia Roberts, Will Smith, Tom Cruise, Denzel at their peak.
This is a lukewarm take. This is like a no. I feel like we know this.
See?
Well, here's my issue with it. I would say is not. I don't completely disagree with it. What I disagree with is I think the nature of movie stardom has changed dramatically, as it has many times from the 20s to the 50s to the 80s to now. So I think it's kind of a false equivalency to be like, well, nobody's as big as Tom Cruise was in 1996. It's because, like, to one of your favorite words, the monoculture doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I think the media landscape is fragmented so much.
And no one goes to movies anymore.
Right.
Like, it's just less viewership.
Right. You're not going to have stars
It's never
like that anymore.
You will never. Will Smith and Tom Cruise, like 2 of them specifically, never again. No one will make that much money ever again. Like it's just not.
No.
No more couch bouncing?
No, but what I would say, what my TED Talk was always going to be was there are no more specifically leading men. Like I think there are actresses, I think there are female actors who I'm like, you have the juice. And I am really unimpressed with many of the leading men. I think there are a lot fewer options.
I get that.
For male actors right now.
I get that.
Because you look at like George Clooney, Leo, Colin Farrell, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, all those guys, Matthew McConaughey, actors, like they can all act. They look great. They had like a range, they weren't too good to do a rom-com.
There you go.
They built a real catalog, and I just see, like, to me, those types of male actors, we don't have.
Yeah, we're aligned.
Well, I will say the second part of what because I think that the nature of movie stardom has changed, but I do personally think that the young crop of actors right now is actually super strong, and there are some movie stars in the bunch.
Who?
I mean, Chalamet and Zendaya are kind of the two,
Yes.
on either side.
Yes.
That obvious.
Yes.
But I think Austin Butler is like the Elvis
He
movie
was good
aside.
in Dune too.
But he was really
He's
good in
very
Dune
good in
too.
Dune, too.
He's just doing interesting things. I think Robert Pattinson, who's maybe not the newest
I
kid
like
on the
Mickey
block.
17.
I love
Mickey 17 was
Good
so
Time.
good.
Good Time. He's amazing.
Incredible.
He was Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, he was.
Like, and that Batman was great.
He was.
Personally. I think, and then there's like Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
There's Michael B. Jordan.
Keke
I will
Palmer.
say
Keke Palmer. I think
Nicholas Holt, I believe
Yeah.
he is
Which
the
one was
best
he?
actor of his generation.
What was he?
he's really good.
I think he first of all starts in About a Boy. Like young Nicholas Holt. He was in The Great. He was just in that Clint Eastwood movie. But he's in Mad Max. He's incredible in Mad Max.
Oh.
He just does like he's in The Favorite.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I love him.
He's great.
I love him.
Yeah. I think, and like Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of really talented young actors. And I think just because they're not Tom Cruise and Will Smith doesn't mean they're not movie stars, is kind of my point
The
on
definition
that.
of movie star
It's
is
changed.
different.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
different.
That's
I will
my
give
caveat.
you that if you accept when I say that Chalamet Bob Dylan movie was mid.
False. I
I was bored.
No way. I loved it.
They sang the whole song every time. Every
I
time.
didn't see that. I have biopics are not.
Well, you have a biopic hot take. Share it.
Now that we have YouTube, we don't need any more biopics. If I can watch the person, if they've been alive such that I can watch them on YouTube, I don't need it. Don't need
Wow.
it.
Wow.
Okay, Abe Lincoln, sure, you can do that one. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I don't know what he sounded like,
Yeah.
and we're all just guessing, and there's nothing to compare it to. It's like, I guess he sounds like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like that's what Abraham Lincoln sounds like. But if I can go, Bob Dylan is alive. We could just ask him about stuff.
He still
I don't need him
He
to
still
do.
tweets.
I think I will say too. It used to be a type of movie that for a black actor, they would let them star in. They got it was their chance to really kind of break out.
Yeah.
Like
it
Ray or
made Jamie Foxx.
yeah, Jamie
like,
Foxx,
that cheer.
Selena, Jennifer Lopez. But I'm now like,
I get
there's
it.
nothing additive unless the only thing I will say something like Jobs, where you are just telling me. You're just actually telling me an interesting story about this real person. I'm more open to that. But just something where they're like, okay, we gave him a piano and let's watch him learn how to play the piano. And then he did some drugs and he saw I'm like, oh my God.
This is actually, because this is kind of my point about A Complete Unknown, though. Well, two things. One, I thought Chalamet was excellent.
He's very good in it.
He's very good in it. I agree. I like doing two more. I know what you said on an episode. So fair.
Yeah.
But I think that about 15 minutes in, 20 minutes in, I didn't feel like I was watching Chalamet play Bob Dylan anymore.
Really?
I felt like I was kind of just watching Dylan up on the screen doing Dylan stuff. And
Yeah.
I think for a biopic, that's kind of all you can ask for from an acting standpoint. But I think the thing that I really liked about it that I didn't know going in was that I was expecting the kind of walk the line Ray treatment, to your point, of like, he's going to have a drug problem. He's going to get divorced. His dad's going to be mean to him or whatever it is. And I think this movie was like, we're going to show this like 7-year period in Bob Dylan's life from when he arrived in New York when he was 19 to when he went electric. And this is just the story of his folk kind of music career and his rise to fame and what that looked like.
Yeah.
And to me, that was much more interesting and I think surprising in a way that I really liked.
Yes.
And like, I've also personally just always found that kind of era of like New York singer-songwriter Joan Baez, like that's kind of like a interesting pivotal time in country and art and pop culture and music and everything else. So I think like knowing that and like having it just kind of like end right when he goes electric, I was like, oh, that was a fun, like, that was good. I didn't have to like watch him get into it like his 90s and where you can't understand anything he says on stage.
I love when a biopic doesn't feel the need to do like birth to death, because that's just the Wikipedia page.
Yes.
So I admire Complete Unknown saying we're going to take this chunk of time. But I think that my beef with the movie was that the pacing was just a bit too slow for my taste. And there were these moments where like they launch into a song and it's the whole 4-minute song and then some reflection and it's just too slow. Like I really wanted like a minute of song and then move on. It felt like a lot of proving to the audience that they could execute the music.
Do you think
But
it
I
was?
got that.
Do you think it was a awards vamping?
For sure.
Like it was him
For
being
sure.
like, "Give
This
me
is
my
gonna
Oscar."
be Timmy's year. Yeah.
Probably.
And I think that like I feel like I always want more plot than less, and I always want more dialogue than less.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of stillness in this film
Mhm.
that I just didn't find.
Which is not for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe, like, I come from the freaking Sorkin school of
Chatty,
plot and
love it.
dialogue.
I
Yes, give me a West Wing walk and talk.
Love a walk.
I
and
got,
talk.
I got
Yeah.
a note recently
Yeah.
where they were like, this script is really chatty. And I was like, joke's on you. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm like, I just want chat. I want this. I want it to be like a Shonda script where it's double the length, but everyone's talking really fast so you can get it all in the right amount of time. Like,
Yes.
love chatty.
Yes.
Mhm.
Chatty.
And I will say one last bit, Sam, is that my wife and
Mm-hmm.
I went to the movie theater to see Wicked, and it was sold out, so we saw Complete Unknown instead. That was just for you.
That is wild. I love that so. I love that so. Do you have any other hot takes that you want to get off your chest?
I don't
Or are we
think
there?
so. I think that I
We
think
did
I think
it.
we're good.
We have made it through our hottest of hot takes without fighting, without crying,
Yeah.
without flipping chairs. I think I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
I think I'm proud of us.
I definitely am proud of us.
You know? Any closing thoughts?
Measured. We're all,
Right?
you know,
You
got
know?
perspective on
You know?
things. We don't
Yeah.
need to fight each other.
You know, we need to
over
fight the
this.
system.
Yes, exactly. We need to fight the studio system that won't let us make chatty
Yes.
biopics.
There you go.
Yeah, give us
Chatty
more walk and talks.
biopics in talkie theaters.
In
BYOB.
talkie movies and talkie theater.
Everyone's
go.
talking.
Yeah.
The
Everyone's
actors,
talking.
the audience,
Yes.
everybody.
Bam. Bam. All right, we fixed it. The hottest hot take. I don't even remember anymore. We're done. We did it. We made it. Listeners, viewers, let us know your hottest hot takes. I'm down to see and hear them all. With that, thanks to my guest. Tell folks again where to find you if they want to.
I am, I'm on these channels.
Mhm.
Kara R. Brown on Instagram, and I'm still calling it Twitter. And I also have a newsletter now
Plug
called
it.
Kara's Three Things. It comes out on Fridays, and it's just like some stuff that's on my mind. We do pop culture, we do skincare. I talked about those space ladies, that type of
Space
stuff.
ladies. I want to read your Space Ladies essay. Talk about hot takes. All right. And Beau, you're going to be here next week.
I'll be here next week.
Yeah,
You can-
Pounding
you
on the
can-
glass.
Yeah, exactly. Screaming on the other side of the glass. You can find me on my wife's TikTok. Elise and Co. with a Y.
Okay.
I love that. We should only be able to find you on your wife's TikTok. I love that.
Now, next episode, we're going to talk about whether or not it's a couple's TikTok, because that's a whole nother conversation.
That
Do you
is
have
a
the
whole nother
password?
conversation. No.
No, it's not.
See y'all next week. Bye.